Hello and welcome to the Precipice podcast. It's awesome to have you with us today. Here at Precipice, we believe that we are redefining success and helping you become more effective and efficient at what you do.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Mtogo Kumete. I'm here with Ross Griffin, and this is week 3 of the Precipice podcast on habits. So we've been talking about habits, and it's been a cool journey. So week 1 we spoke about what are habits, why they're important. Week 2 we spoke about the first 2 points in our 4-part framework, which is having a good goal. We spoke about why goals are important because they give us a sense of direction and where we're going. We've spoken about how to set up good goals, and that is having a good why behind your goals. We're not doing it just because our friends are doing it or because society is moving in that direction, but we need to have a good goal behind it. We've spoken about that our goals need to be specific. We need to be specific about what we're trying to do, and they must be measurable. And then we spoke about the right environment, shaping the environment around you in order for it to be the best possible environment to either encourage you to do that habit or discourage you from doing that habit, whatever it may be. And so this week, we are in week 3, and we are looking at showing up. So Ross, tell me, what is showing up?
Sure. So we've all heard that thing that a habit is made in 21 days.
Yeah.
And we've also heard it happens in 30 days, it happens in 62 days. Like there's all these studies that they've done. But James Clear, and we've spoken about him quite a bit because he's this expert on habits. And he says, well, hold up. It doesn't take 21 days to make a habit. You never finish creating a habit because the minute you stop doing it, it's no longer a habit. And that's what this whole thing of showing up is we're saying, hey, we need to just get in there and just do it. I don't know if you've ever seen that video of Shia LaBeouf saying, just do it. He's like screaming, just do it. Well, that's what we're doing. We're screaming, just do it.
One of my favorite videos.
Yeah, the internet's great.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is, James Clear says, don't optimize for the finish, optimize for the start. So we're just getting there. We're showing up.
So what are you trying to say to me? Are you trying to say to me that I shouldn't look at the end results that I want? I mean, surely that's a part of my goal. So are you saying I shouldn't look at that?
Yeah, to some extent. And what I'm saying is keep your goal in mind. And that's why the goal is important, because the habit should never be the goal. The goal should never, well, I'm not going to say never, but like take reading, for example. We've often heard these stories of CEOs reading 1 book a day. That's ridiculous. 1 whole book a day. Your goal should never to be reading 1 book a day, but to read more. And you'll say your habit's something like, I will read 15 minutes a day. Reading 1 book a day for someone that's never even read 1 book in 1 year is so unrealistic. And that's the problem with so many people, is that they get lulled into this thing of, I'm all in or nothing. It's go big or go home. The problem is you go big and then you get burnt out and it just never becomes a habit.
So are we trying to say that maybe instead of going big, take baby steps in the direction of where you're going?
Yeah, exactly. Take baby steps. Get used to taking the baby steps.
Crazy that you mentioned that. I'm just thinking right now. I remember, so personally, I'm not a person who has ever been big on reading. I've never been a major fan of it, and I am slowly but surely getting to reading more and enjoying it more often. And thinking back on how I started my journey on reading more, one of the things that I used to do was I used to tell myself, hey, just read 10 pages a day and that's it. Just read 10 pages, and once those 10 pages are done, you're done for the day. And I've seen how that's helped me. Some days I read 20 pages, some days I read just the bare minimum. But I think that's helped me in my journey on reading and becoming a better reader. And so I think with habits, showing up is super important.
Yeah, so what you're doing is you're basically teaching your brain to do the thing. Because so often, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, you say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow. And then you wake up in the morning and you like snooze your clock, and it's just like, I am not in the mood for this. But often when you actually get around to doing that thing, you're like, actually, this is not so bad. And I think we've all experienced that. And that the whole idea of showing up is getting ourselves to the point where we're like, actually, this is not so bad. And I'd like to tell a story from James Clear's book. It's an incredible story where this obese guy, he was like, okay, I am going to lose weight. I'm going to go to the gym every day, or I don't know what it was, 5 times a week. But he did this really strange thing. He says, I will go to gym for 2 minutes a day. And you're probably thinking, 2 minutes a day, what is that?
Really, bro? What a waste of fuel.
Yeah. Like, I don't think you could even have enough time to like check into the gym and like get changed if that's what you need in 2 minutes. But he was just getting there. He was showing up. And that's what we're trying to do here. The incredible thing about this story is he, after a while, he's like, okay, I'm doing this 2 minutes a day. And that's great. He's gotten to the point where he's made it a habit. Once you've made it a habit, once you've gotten used to showing up and doing this thing for 2 minutes a day or 10 pages a day or whatever it may be, then you can start optimizing for the finish. So we go back to that statement we said before. Optimize for the start and not the finish.
Yeah. Actually, as you speak, I'm just remembering a conversation I had with a friend of mine during the week. And so one of the things that we were talking about, it's something that they want to do as a person. So I'm just taking us away from habits for a second. And I think this can be applied not only to habits, but to all the areas of our lives. Showing up is so important. So they were telling me about this business venture that they want to do, but they were constantly thinking about, what if it doesn't work? What if there are people better than me at this? Or all of these different things. And I think to some extent, we're all the same. If we're trying something new or wanting to do something new, we're always thinking about the what ifs and the if onlys and whatever it may be. And one of the things I remember saying to them was that just start. And starting is so important, and starting and showing up is the same thing. Just show up. It is so important to just show up. And it doesn't necessarily mean that at the end of the day, this is going to be a habit for you. I mean, hopefully it will be, or if not, that's okay. At least you showed up. It doesn't mean that the business will be successful or whatever it is that you're trying will work out, but it does mean that you will have had experience and you would have learned something, and hey, who knows, maybe it does work out. But showing up is super important.
And what's really incredible about this, you pointed out some great things there. I mean, you often hear entrepreneurs saying the successful entrepreneurs are not the one that have succeeded multiple times, but they've failed multiple times. But that brings us to a really good question. What happens if you miss a day? Because you're trying to create a habit. You're trying to do something consecutively day after day after day. And we've all experienced this where like you're trying to build a good habit and you miss a day and it becomes 2 days and it's 3 days.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you've fallen off the bus and you're not doing what you initially set out to do. So what do we do?
I think the biggest thing at that point is never miss 2 days. You can miss 1 day, but never miss the second day. Because once you miss that second day, it opens up that can of worms of falling into a downward spiral of missing and missing and missing. And then you wake up 3 weeks later, it's like, what has happened? But honestly, if I mean, and I'm not saying that you won't miss a day. We're human and sometimes we miss the day. But can I ask you, try by the best of your ability to not miss more than 2 days, because missing more than 2 days is harmful for what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I mean, it's exactly what James Clear says. He says, a habit isn't made in 21 days, but it's made by consistently doing it. You never make excuses. And when I was training for my half marathon, we talked about this previously, my rule was never miss a day. like I would have one rest day a week, and I would stick to that rest day. It was always on the same day, would not miss a day, and that meant for me that some days I was running at 9 o'clock at night in the rain. It happened. I was running 9 o'clock at night in the rain. But I know it sounds crazy, but it's actually not that bad. It sounds terrible, but it's actually not that bad.
Can I be honest, to every other listener who is just like me and saying you're insane, I feel you. That is crazy.
Well, I look back on myself and I'm like, what the heck were you doing?
Yeah.
Why? Was it worth it? To be honest, no, it wasn't. But that's what we're trying to say here is like, just get used to showing up. Like, we all know what it's like to be on a downward spiral. It's so demotivating. Just get started as soon as you can. And if you have like stopped doing your habit, let's say you have embarked on this adventure of saying, hey, I'm going to start this habit, I'm going to do this thing, and you've missed a few days and you're feeling despondent, you're feeling demotivated, just start again.
Yeah, and I think on par with showing up, the most underrated quality I think in our generation today is patience. And with showing up, you need to be patient. We can do things and try to do things, but don't expect it tomorrow that you're gonna have it perfect. You won't. I wish I could say you will, but you won't. And being patient is probably the most valuable thing that you could have for yourself. Being patient with yourself, being patient with the journey that you're going on, but also being as consistent as possible. And so this brings us to the end of our podcast today. I don't know if you have anything else to add, bro.
Yeah, no, not much to add, but I'd just like to encourage our listeners to, we've been so appreciative of the support that we've received. Next week we're going to be talking about rewarding ourselves. It's going to be pretty awesome because that's the fun part. That's you've now built this habit, you've got a goal, you've created the right environment, you've shown up, you started doing this thing, and now you get to start making this thing enjoyable. It's an enjoyable process, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us and listening in, and we're so keen to have you next week. Don't forget, if you like this, subscribe, join us so you don't miss our weekly podcast, and share it with your friends and family. We hope that you have an amazing week, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
Cheers.